Today is April 14th, 2019, and we're going to take a look at some of the orchids that are in bloom right now. It's actually mainly my Phalaenopsis. The first one here is a INOIDI. It's a Harlequin type hybrid, and it looks like there's quite a bit of blooms this year. All very compact, and I usually don't stake up my Phalaenopsis because I just don't like that look anymore, I guess. I like this cascading over the pot look better. So that's what we're looking at right now. But the downside is that it sort of tips the plant over the pot. This one is barely in the pot right now because so much weight is going towards the spike in the leaves. So it's only in there by sheer friction at the moment. If I move it any more, it'll just tip over, so I won't. Alright, moving on. Next one here is a species. This is a Phalaenopsis meow, and this is the best blooming it has given me so far. It looks really pretty. I like when the shape of the blooms are very compact like this, but I also like the Phalaenopsis that are rounded like the hybrids. So anyways, yeah, Phalaenopsis meow. I think there was one bloom that already faded, or two, but still a very, very good show. Best it has given me so far. And I've got this one recently. This is also a meow, but it's an alba variety. And if you take a look at the difference between this one and my species one, it's all the blooms are in cluster like this, and the shape is reminiscent of each other, but I guess the lower sepals, they're rounder. You can see it there. Yeah, but they don't bloom far apart like these, so it's less distinct. If you don't look it carefully, it just kind of looks like a blob of yellow. So not the greatest of form. Not many blooms too. I believe this time is the first time it's ever bloomed, so we're not expecting much. But there's a second spike here with a couple of buds that are not yet opened. And up from there is my Phalaenopsis mini mark. I got this one from somewhere in Europe that a vendor imported in, and this is the first time it's successfully bloomed for me, and it bloomed quite well. As you can see how many blooms there are. There's one last one here on the spike that's not yet fully open. But I love the shape of it, and I'm glad to have it finally. I know this is very common over there, but for some reason over here it's very rare. It's getting better now as far as supplies, but still kind of hard to get. I love how the lip is almost as big as one of the sepals or petals. But it also has this spike over here that's kind of blooming out really, really wonky. I don't really know what that's about. Maybe poor lighting. It's kept very, very low light. It's kept in very, very low light. So I don't know what that's about, but I like the flowers on these. This other one though, it's blooming out quite nicely. Alright, moving on these tiny blooms are my Phalaenopsis chibe. It's a small plant, but it's produced 3 spikes, and the blooms are small, but they're numerous. Some of them are getting a little bit old, so they turn a little bit more red, and yeah, I've started to lose some buds out there on the spike, but you can see it's a little cheery, tiny blooms, which is very interesting. And down here my Phalaenopsis kaleidoscope. It doesn't look that much, and I'm pretty sure people have seen this particular one all the time, but I still like it. I like how star-shaped the blooms are. It's still recovering from a couple of years of neglect. I've given this one to my mom, who has recently immigrated back to the motherland, so I've inherited it now back to me. I'm trying to take care of it. It's very, very small right now because, like I said, it's been recovering. So this particular one, I'm sure you've seen it, has very much larger leaves than it is now, but it still managed to give me 5 blooms, which is nice. Colors are pretty vibrant, and it's quite big, as you can see. This one is actually tagged, which is kind of rare for us, one of these hybrids, but this particular cultivar is Golden Treasure. So, glad to have it. And moving over here, on this side, is these wonderful little Phalaenopsis blooms. There's no ID, but it's always really pleasant because they bloom quite a bit. See if I can give you a better shot of that. This is in comparison to my hand. See how small they are? This is all just one spike, and it's branches out quite a bit. There's a spike. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. I know people knock on the hybrid Phalaenopsis, but I still like them. Yeah. All right, moving on. This is my first species Phalaenopsis I've ever owned. It's a Phalaenopsis violacea. It looks a lot more like Bellina, right? But anyways, that's what it's labeled, and it's not the greatest form ever. But it's my first, so I still love it. It has quite a bit of spikes, 3 or 4, I believe. And it's just starting to open up some of the blooms now. So there is a bud coming right behind there. And then we got one that's developing here. This one I don't see anything yet. And there's another spike that's coming out from over there. Oh, it's over the winter it developed this basil keiki. So that's good. Usually it only has 1 or 2 flowers at the time, which is indicative of this particular species. So hopefully in the future, when it gets more and more mature, it should put out more flowers, which would be nice. Like I said, the form of this particular one is just a common one. It's not a wart or anything, but it's my first one. And the one thing that I do like about it over the others is how fragrant it is. It smells like soap or something. It's really interesting and weird, but I love it. Next to that is it's another hybrid me Phalaenopsis with slight marginal variation. I don't know what this particular one is, but it's given me this year double spikes, and on the tip here we've lost a couple of buds, which is still okay because it looks pretty full. It's really nice. And last one over here is a Phalaenopsis. I forgot what the name of it is. There's the name for you. It's quite long. I got this from Norman. Put the tag back. As you can see, it's amazing. I love the markings on it. It goes in circles like that. The spike is very, very short, so I've just recently started to mound this up higher, and so the flower spike doesn't get crushed inside the pot. I think it's helpful so far. but there's another spike over here with a couple more flowers that hasn't opened up fully because it was stuck inside the pot with, you know, just the traditional way of potting it. So I've decided to do this this mound moss thing that's pretty much inspired by the neos. And I don't know why I haven't thought of this technique recently, but I think I'm going to start doing this more often for, at least for the Phalaenopsis that has shorter spikes that just can't grow out or bloom successfully outside of the pot. So this would be a nice compromise. And also looks pretty nice too, I think. So, yeah. Alright, so that's the update for today. Hi everyone, today is April 26, 2019, and it's the day right before I leave for vacation. So I just want to include a short update to all the new phals that has opened up recently. It is phal season right now, and we are at the height of the blooming season for them. So right here is my Phalaenopsis Orchid World. The clonal name is Bonnie Vasquez. It's the first time I've ever seen it in bloom. For a long while I thought this particular one was going to die on me, but fortunately it's given me these three, well, 2 blooms and 1 bud. And if I show you on the top here, there's basically nothing left except for this 1 leaf. The roots amazingly are still growing, and I think on the side here there's maybe a basil keiki coming out, but it's pretty curious that it's blooming for me. But oh well, I was expecting this one to die, but it's a nice little surprise. I'll be even more surprised if it survives after the blooming. So this may or may not be it. Alright, so moving on. So the next one is, this one is the supposedly labeled as Phal Mariae, but some people were telling me that it's not. Based on the morphology, I guess. But yeah, let me move over here so you can get a better look at it. It's blooming pretty well, whatever it is. It has 3 spikes, and it's actually a sequential bloomer, so the old spikes I didn't cut off last year and it rebloomed again. So that's really nice. The plant itself is still kind of small or medium-ish. There's some more over there and some more over there. It's not all open yet, so there's a few more that are just still maturing, but I want to get down video before I leave. And moving on, this is Phalaenopsis Leodoro, Sweet Memory Leodoro, I believe. No, this one is, I forget. Sorry, that one is Phalaenopsis Sweet Memory Babble. This one is a pretty vigorous plant. It has 3 open blooms now with 3 more buds coming out on 2 spikes. Alright, moving on. This little guy is my pyloric / variegated. Here's the tag for it. Zogo Vivian. Anyways, it's not a very impressive set this year, but I don't think I was growing it correctly because the newer leaves are kind of small and it looks kind of cruddy. As soon as this has faded, I am going to repot this into my usual mix, which is bark and sphagnum moss. So that's that. Next is my Phalaenopsis Guadalupe. I got 4 buds this year. 2 of it has bloomed, and it's gotten pretty big, so that's pretty good. And next to that is a giant bouquet of, it's a INOIDI, but it's just the best that's ever bloomed for me. And this year, the markings on a much more pronounced. I've gotten it to bloom where there's only a few spots of pink, but this time there's quite a bit of it, so it looks really, really nice. As you can see, I didn't really stake it up, so it's like slightly pendulous, and there's still more to come actually. It looks really nice. Alright, but that's it. I'll see if I can include more updates. I kind of forgot to include this one in the original clip, but this is my Phalaenopsis supposedly lucky star. It's actually an INOIDI that I bought a long time ago. This set of blooms is actually coming off of a nose spike, so it's kind of surprising that it's blooming sequentially now. This one is one of the ones that I thought was going to lose because it was kind of infested with mealy bugs and it's struggling this winter. So that was a very nice surprise to see that it bloomed another set. It's actually now recovering. So yeah, this is one of my original first one that I had. So glad to see it's in bloom and glad it's still surviving. Hey guys, today is July 7th, 2019, and we're outside now in my new summer outdoor grow space. So I just want to give you guys a little tour of that. Alright, so first off, this year I'm trying out some edibles, mainly just some tomatoes and watermelon, cucumbers, stuff that I would actually eat. So here they are. They're not that many, but that's what we're growing. So that right there is a tomato, and one of them is actually a black tomato, so I'm kind of excited about that, but we haven't had any fruit set yet, so we're waiting on that. And over here, this is actually a wisteria that I'm trying bonsai on. Don't know if it's gonna work yet. It's kind of growing everywhere right now because I'm trying to get the stalk a little bit thicker before I transition it over into an actual bonsai dish. Alright, so moving on. Over here we have a lemongrass bush, and we're going to take a look at the perimeter first. So this area where they have the marble chips, it used to be just plain old dirt, and there was a lot of weeds that were growing there, and I cleared it out. It was like a major hub for all of the slugs and snail in there. So last year when I left my orchids outside, all those slugs and snails started to eat the roots. So I cleared it out, so now it seems like the problem is not as bad. But in this particular area, We have some azalea that's growing. I've pruned them quite a bit, so now they look a little sad, but I see more growing buds happening, so hopefully in the next few months it'll bush up a little bit better. But over here we have a Amorphophallus bulbifer, and this particular Amorphophallus has those little corms that develop actually on the branches. It was really cool. I bought it last winter, so this is the first time it's growing for me. And right behind there, that big plant is it's a bird of paradise. Species is Nicolai, I think. And right above there we have all of my hanging plants, including a dragon fruit, and I believe that's the one is Shambarkia. So all of my bandaceous plant primarily are kind of hung on the edge of the deck here, just to give them better light and kind of remove them off the ground, just to prevent any issue with slugs or snails. Alright, moving on. We have my sapodilla plant there. I just recently repotted that into a bigger pot, so it has a bit of slight scale issue. Oh, this is my Amorphophallus konjac. That's this year. It's huge. So you can see there, the trunk is pretty big. I was hoping that it'll flower this year, but I guess it wasn't doing that. And moving over here, it's Alocasia amazonica, regrowing some leaves, and that's about it. Moving over to this side. On this side we have all of my hanging cattleyas. I've decided this year to do this sort of setup again to prevent slugs from eating all of the roots, tips, and buds and that sort of thing. So I bought these wire hangers from Kelly Corner's Orchid Supply. I think that's what the name of the merchant is. If I'll remember, I'll put a link in the description of where I purchased the metal wire. But I bought two different lengths and kind of staggered them like this, just to make it prettier. The other thing is, this also kind of makes a little privacy area or privacy screening from the neighbors. It's not the main reason why I did this, but it also functions as that as well. And then let's go in. Alright, so here's a closer look at how I've hung everything up. As you can see, they are just kind of strapped onto these O-ring screws that were drilled into the wood of the deck and strapped on by plastic straps. It doesn't look very elegant, but this will do for now while I figure something a little more permanent next time. But it seems to hold well. So there you can see the wire hangers. And then for all the orchids that are on the bottom, again, I had to figure out a more permanent solution, but these are just cotton twine that are just kind of strapped on to the wire hangers, and they're being used to hang the pots beneath them. For the majority of the pots here, because the clay pot is pretty heavy, the majority of the medium in the pot are just styrofoam peanuts, and then the top dressing is actual bark just to give it better aesthetics. But that was my solution to keep everything light as possible, to be able to hang everything up. And I just want to include this in the update, but this is my Leia tenebrosa, or Cattleya tenebrosa. I don't know what it is officially now, but this is an aria variety, so the flowers are supposed to be yellowish or yellow. I'm not sure, but this is the first time it has bloomed for me, I've gotten this maybe about 2 years ago, and this is the first time it's blooming for me, so I'm kind of excited about that. So I'm sure you guys have saw that in the clips previously that there were hanging pots on anillos, and yeah, so this year I am putting them all up on hanging racks as well. But I'll abstain from giving you any more details because I kind of want to cover them in more depth in a separate update. But here they are. Over here we have a couple orchids that are coming into bloom. You can see them, they are budding. The first one here is a Phalaenopsis javanica crossed with Hieroglyphica. I hope you can see on the tag there. But there are buds here. And this is a Phalaenopsis deliciosa, and the flowers are very, very small, and the leaves have this silvery sheen on it. It's very attractive. So this is the first time it's blooming for me. Next over is a Phalaenopsis Taida sunshine. Like I said in the last update, this always seems to be in bloom. So it's not an exception here, but I've just noticed this, but the end of this particular spike is developing a apical keiki. So that's really interesting. That's the first time I've seen that. Over here is my Phalaenopsis violacea. This is the very first species Phalaenopsis I've owned, and it looks like it's about to produce a very good show on these 4 spikes, because all of them have some sort of buds on them. And right over here on one of the outdoor benches is this Phalaenopsis hieroglyphica. It's an alba variety, first time bloomer for me. It's already putting out a basil keiki, which is very surprising already. It's kind of in line with my regular hieroglyphica, which is putting out some buds as well. Over here is a Phalaenopsis bellina. I like this particular one. This is my second one. I thought the first one I purchased from Hauserman was gonna die, but it actually put out a basil keiki and it's surviving, so that's a plus. But this one I got from Peter Lin, I think, on eBay, and I like this particular one because the leaves are so round. It's kind of cute. But yeah, you can see there's a bud. There's a tiny bud forming. And over here, this is the last one that's looks like it's about to bloom, but this one is LD's Bear King. I kind of forgot what the flower on this one looks like, but I think it's like a golden color with the Phalaenopsis bellina shape. It has very strong substance, but it's producing multiple spikes with a couple of blooms. It's a very large plant. This one was also sourced from Hauserman, and I've had it for a while, so it's getting kind of big. Another plant that always seems to be in bloom is my Silagny usitana, and right now we're working with 4 spikes. This is one of the longer ones. Yeah, it looks pretty awesome, and actually, I think there's only 3, but there's one more that's coming out soon. So the other ones that are blooming are over here, and in the back there's another one. So these are newer, so they're not quite as pendulous. So right now I'm trying to train it to grow out from every direction, because before it was a windowsill culture and it kept going towards the window. So it's very heavy on one side, but it's doing well now that I brought it outside and given it quite a bit of water and moisture and warmth. I hope this isn't too backlit, but this is my TTPS Purple Martin, and this is one of the 2 spikes that it has. It's becoming quite a good bloomer recently. With 2 spikes. This is the main one, or actually it's not the main one, it's the new one. We're seeing a lot more blooms on it. And then the other one is over there. It's just dropped off one of the blooms. So there are a couple buds coming in after that. But this particular one, I'm not sure if this is representative of all DPS Purple Martin, but it only blooms one or two and then it falls off, and then the next one comes on. I was hoping that there were a lot more blooms to give a better display, but that's pretty much all we're working with. And down here, let me zoom out a little bit. It's kind of downward facing, but this is my Phalaenopsis pulchra, and this is the very first bloom for me on this particular plant. And this plant is kind of weird because this is a spike that has developed a very old flower spike, and it's producing out apical keikis, but never bloom until this keiki bloomed at a really small size. So that's kind of strange. Here's the plant itself. Doesn't look too great as the leaves are getting smaller and smaller, and I'm not really sure why that is, but it is what it is. Here's another basil keiki on the other side that's putting out a whole bunch of roots. And this on this side, because it's so mature, I kind of potted it up without having to break off the connection there. But yeah, it's kind of at the end of the flowering stage, so the blooms doesn't look that nice. But it's very cool waxy bloom. Here's another one that's coming to an end, or here's another one that's coming to the end of their blooming cycle. This is the DTPS gooseberry. And a couple months back, this spike was full of these cute little blooms. But I just want to include it here, just so I have something on record. Yeah, it's my little DTPS gooseberry. And I need to get this grass has somehow got into my potting mixture. Right behind there, we have Phalaenopsis. One of the species one, Amboinensis, variety Sulawesi. Looks a little bit different than my other Amboinensis, which I'm sad to report that it actually had died. But yeah, the pattern here, the markings are a little thinner than the other one. The other one's kind of more blotchy, but this one it looks like it's much looks like a better form, maybe a more distinct form, and it's a lot more floriferous than my other one. This one is also actually pretty big as well, and it's also working on another spike over here. This one I got from Norman's. And moving over here, this one is pretty. This is Phalaenopsis dragon tree eagle, a purchase from Hauserman. Like I say, this is pretty striking colors there. As you can see, there's two buds coming behind there. And last but not least are these very cool reddish color blooms on the Phalaenopsis. This one is a hybrid. Oops, I dropped the tag. Phalaenopsis Chang little peppers. And this is a cross of Cornucervi variety Chatalade times Hawaii Dragon Girl Red. Also purchased from from Norman. And we're working with two spikes. I guess because of this one is a Cornucervi, it's always a sequential bloomer, or it has been a sequential bloomer for me. So these are very old spikes. Actually, this one is a new one. But this one's an old one, and this one is an old one that does not have any blooms on it. But yeah, it's one of the very few red Phalaenopsis in my collection. Alright, I think I'm going to wrap up the video for now. I'm going to leave you guys with the last shot of my Phalaenopsis deliciosa, which has decided to open today. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.